get starting streaming this in our Facebook as well as in our Internet Society channel. So I would like to welcome you all for this section. So this is a good opportunity for all of us to get to know very well about the universal acceptance. And this is a COVID situation. I hope everyone is doing well. So this is a good stuff. So remotely to get connected and to learn about the universal acceptance to us. It's a great opportunity. Meanwhile, I would like to thank for all the speakers, those who have joined here, Dr. Ajay Data, Mr. Samrat Hussain, Mr. Samiran Gupta, and Mr. Harish Chowdhary. Thank you all for joining us to give a very good awareness about an universal acceptance. And also, I would like to thank those who are joining in the live stream from the Internet Society, and also those who are joining to attend in a Facebook channel as well. And we have partners for the webinar partners. I would like to address them as well. Our webinar partners are Karnataka Law Society, Gupta Institute, and Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, that is FICI, and Council of Information Security, and Ramaya Institute of Technology and the IEEE Bangalore section are the supporters for this webinar. We are very curious to know much about the Universal Acceptance Steering Group and activities about them. So some of them are well known about the universal acceptance, basically why it is established and in a multi-language internet where any user around the world can use the internet in their native language, as well as all the domains, that is with respect to TLD and IDNs and all. So in depth, what are the activities are going on in Indian perspective, everything we can understand with from our speakers. So I would like to welcome once again one and all. So our very first speaker is Ajay Data. So just to give brief introduction about Mr. Ajay Data. Ajay Data is just a second. Yeah. Sorry, just a minute. Just getting back. Yeah. Let me introduce our very first speaker, Dr. Ajay Data. So Ajay Data is an award winner, techno-commercial founder and CEO of multiple technology companies. He always puts people effort, believes in long-term relationship with teammate. He is an CEO of 1,000 plus team members in the company and is the chair of the Universal President Steering Group as well. Today is going to give and talk about the introduction of the universal acceptance. So over to you, Dr. Ajay Data.
Thank you, Adarsh. Thank you, ISOC. Thank you, Harish, for inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to talk about an issue which is not only close to my heart, is a very, very significant issue for the whole world. Yesterday, we had a pre-ICANN session about UA, and I specifically coined, which I spoke yesterday, is we need to be, if we are not explaining it simply, then we have not understood enough. And I have tried to keep my language and keep the slides simple so that if even after the talk, people look at the slides, they are able to read them and understand them. Of course, there may be questions, but it should not become very complicated for people to understand. So again, thank you very much for inviting me here. And I feel privileged to talk to all of you who are part of industry to talk about universal acceptance. Universal acceptance vision is very simple. All domain names and all email addresses should work in all software applications. We may find it very logical. And this can be a problem. Some people may even have a doubt. But my slides will tell you that this is a global issue and it's a global problem. It's a very large problem to solve. And without the listeners who are listening to me and without you who are organizers, this problem cannot be solved. So your stake and your interest in this is very, very important. And why we should solve it is also very important to do. And the impact here is promote consumer choice, improve competition, and provide broader access to the end users. And that's how, if we can build the UA readiness in the whole ecosystem, in the whole country and the world, we may have billions of people online. That kind of impact we can have. When we talk about UA, it has its own impact. So here it impacts technically on which kind of domain names and which kind of email addresses. So you can see the domain names are newer top level domain names like example.sky. So for example, you can have uasg.tech as an example in longer domain name, and IDN you can have udharan.bharat, or you can have data.bharat, which I run it. And there can be many Rajasthan.bharat is a live domain on which email runs. So you can have many intersite domain name as an example. I'm going to show you some examples in next slides. Email address internationalization is a term for email addresses which has at least one character which is non-ASCII. So you can see some examples: ASCII at IDN, Unicode at ASCII, Unicode at IDN, and Unicode at IDN, where the Arabic script is as an example, which goes from right to left. So it is very important to accept all those email addresses. And by the way, these are all valid email addresses, what you're seeing here as an email construct perspective. So they must be accepted. And somebody may really have them to come to the services, go for railway ticket or a airline ticket or a newsletter from the PM. It could be used anywhere. So these are all valid email addresses. But what do we call UA as a pillars? So we have 5 basic check for these things. One is accept. Accept means, so for example, we have a COVID, let us say, which is a hot topic of this pandemic right now, and we have a registration page. So can you go and register for the news of COVID and use this email address Ajay at data.bharat, which is my email address in Hindi? Can I use this to receive information? Can the website accept my email address? Can it validate it as a valid email ID? Can it process it well to send me information? Can it store it well to send me the alerts and notifications when it required? And can it display it well when it is required to do it? If all those ingredients of an email ID is taken care in a software or a website or a mobile app, then this application can be called as UA ready. There are some examples which you can see. These are all examples which are valid examples, are almost live. Most of them are live. Some of them may not be live in today's state, but I guess every domain name which you can see on the screen should be live. And if you try it, whether it is in Russia or China or in India, all domain names should be live. And these are all valid domain names. So what is the role we have? What are we doing? So when we are promoting, we should understand very clearly what is UA ready from the graphical perspective in front of you and what is not UA ready. So you see, if I use that soap.organic, that's a real example of a long top level domain name. You can see Tokyo dot some Japanese script. You can see it has an IDN example. You can see the last slide, which is using a bank.com, which is a normal domain name, but it is having an email address example, which is an EAI example. So all 3, if it works, are covering role of universal acceptance. We must promote that you should accept this in a browser, you should accept this kind of domain name, and you should accept this kind of email addresses. If you do not accept and the result is not shown on a browser or email address website or a bank website rejects that email ID, it means that is not EAI ready or not UA ready. So we recently did a study. Where do we stand? So these are 1,000 global websites which were studied, and this result is in front of us. So you can see that Arabic email ID is very less accepted. Chinese and Chinese, you can see very less accepted. Chinese.ASCII at ASCII is accepted a little better than the previous ones. ASCII at Chinese are a little more, and you can see, but ASCII.new short, which means, and it covers some CCs also in it, which is country code level domain names, where they are having their email addresses and websites working more better than the above ones. So this is a very important slide. We spent a lot of time and money into it to get these kind of research done. This gives you an indication that top three is not even 10%, almost 10%. So the 90% of the world or 90% of the websites are not able to accept these kind of challenges which are presented in front of you. India acceptance rate, where we are moving. So we are not very far from average, but we are a little better than world average. So you can see we are touching almost 20% while accepting a local and ASCII.ASCII, where a Hindi domain name, Hindi as a mailbox name, and ASCII.ASCII. And these kind of results are also taken, but but obviously we would like all these bars to touching the 100%. And that's the role. So if you see this blank space where the bars are not going, this is the problem we are solving, and this is the problem we need to all solve. So this is the work which user acceptance we are going. I heard some disturbance. Is that okay to continue? Okay. So community organized, this is the group which community driven, completely community owned. And just like any ICANN working group, we have almost 500 members in the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. And we have elections every 2 years, and community selects the chair and vice chairs. And that is how this entire working group works. And then we identify the entire plan for the year, and the strategic action plan is right now in discussions, and it will be very soon going to be discussed on the discuss list. So I would encourage that you all join the UA discuss list and be notified for what's going on and participate and wherever you can. Very soon you will see that action plan is going to be also available in our discuss list once we are ready with the financial plan, and you will be able to contribute on the budgets and finances of the UA if you have an interest on, and your suggestions are taken care. The and ICANN structure supports us. So Sarmad and Samiran from India, and Sarmad is the IDN director who is also going to speak, and one of the top-notch resources in ICANN, supports us to run the UA administration, and he supports, and he is the most knowledgeable guy on IDN side if somebody needs to consult. The stakeholders we have from the community. So we need technology enablers. These enablers are the people who provide programming languages, tools, and frameworks. For an example, Java, .NET, or PHP and Python, or CMS, these kind of frameworks and tools somebody provides. Developers are the people, of course, who develop the applications by utilizing these tools. Email software service providers are the people who provide email software, just like XGen does, or Corel in China does, or Microsoft and Microsoft Exchange does, and the people who provide services like Gmail or like Outlook or like Yahoo. And the government policy makers, we have these people who make policies in government and procure software. So this is also one of the target segment. When government procures a software, it should be UA ready. It doesn't make sense today, like buying a router which does not support IPv6. It is like that. So if somebody is buying a software, if it is not accepting a Hindi email ID or a Hindi domain name and it rejects it, it doesn't make sense to buy that software today. So we are forcing this thought process and advocating it to a large extent through the community, so that this message goes to the right directions to the policymakers, and they listen and they try to define this policy. The moment they start making this policy, the demand gets generated and the software providers deliver the UA ready softwares. We already have working groups. It is very, very important to listen very carefully. And if you have not joined one of the working groups, you may like to join a working group. These are all open. There is no invitation required. You have to just apply by going to a website, usg.tech. Go to the bottom of the page. You will see the link to join a working group and just fill your form. That's all. And you will be accepted. We process them every week. So you will be accepted and you will receive an email whenever the communication starts. So technology working group. This is the working group which creates the standards, works the standards, best practices, programming languages, tools, develop solutions to solve the UA problem in many ways. This is the technology working group where the entire technology got discussed. EAI is a separate big tool, part of technology from the sphere perspective, but it's a separate working group led by Mark. And technology working group is, by the way, led by Satish, who is from India, Satish Babu. EAI working group is led by Mark from Microsoft, and there the entire EAI related discussions happen, and all the service providers and software makers join that group to try to execute the plan what we all make. Measurement working group is also very important to see that where we require to put our efforts, measure that requirement. So right now, let us say, for example, we know that most of the websites gets hosted through a CMS. So which CMS should be UA ready? The moment we go to the CMS, that company which is managing the CMS, and try to guide with the libraries, try to do the whatever changes required, then we can have X CMS UA ready. Then obviously all the websites have the relevant tools through that CMS to make the websites UA ready. That's the whole idea. Communication working group is very important working group which takes the communication to the masses, build a communication strategy for each specific target segment, presentations, documentations, learning, all those things gets into that, and they plan and develop the strategy for us. Local initiative, I am the chair for that right now, and we manage to create local initiatives in each region. We understood very clearly that centrally, by sitting few people and discussing it remotely, this plan cannot be executed because it's a very large problem. We must have people at each regional level. They understand the local problems better. They understand the teams better. They understand the influencers better. So we must have the local initiative working group, which coordinates with the local community, start a working group, and we support them fullest. So I am happy to share India has its own local initiative working group live, led by Sarika from FICCI, and there are large community members joining them together. So if you are interested, you may contact me, Samiran, or if Sarika and somebody is listening, you can contact them through the group. We will be happy to connect if they are not. UA Ambassador Working Group. So Harish is one of them, and we have now two more ambassadors out of India. We have I forgot the name. These two names are there, which I shared in the group today. These people have joined the working groups in this, and we have these live. So you can see that now we have three ambassadors in the working group today, which are going to take the UA ambassador work forward, right? And this is where we are going to see that all ambassadors are taking all the UA initiatives further. They are going to take all the UA initiatives to the masses. So maybe it is related to the teaching, related to the running the hackathon, going and speaking about it, going and advocating about it, influencing it, going, giving a meeting, talking to the community. All those things are done by UA ambassadors. They are our pillars. They will work with local initiative working group very closely now. Next slide. This is the structure we have. Just to tell you how we work. So we have a technology working group. We work with tech enablers and tech developers. These are the two stakeholders this working group works with. EI work with EI providers. Measurement working group works to measure and see what we suggest them that this is where we require to address, and they work on that. Communication working group is works with everybody. Local initiative, we are right now going to work with everybody, and I think the list is going to be much more larger here, where stakeholders are going to be expanded as the community guides for us, and you ambassadors work with everybody as the stakeholders. I am reaching towards the end to my presentation. So this is some relevant material. These are all links clickable. You can click on any link, and you can go to a website. usg.tech website is very, very important to remember. These are there are large documents on which $100,000 and more has been spent to build those documents and presentations. So look at those documents if you are interested in UA awareness program. how, what is there for CIOs, what is there for CTOs, what is there for tech organizations, what is there for EAI, what is there for universities. There are many presentations available. You can look at them on all the sites. There are some relevant documents which I think you should have a direct link access to, so it can give you a important framework, important guidance around EAI, how to understand it, what UA is. You will understand very beautifully by reading these documents. And this is my last slide, where you can visit us.tech. You can experience about email by government of India. I have put posta.rus in Russian and Cyrillic if somebody is interested in that, or an EI address you can take from whatever website you are comfortable with in the below. These are all available if you are interested to have an ID and an EI address. Yesterday, actually, we got a feedback. That's the reason I added a slide, that some people asked that can we have a demo email addresses. And though we are working within the USG also to work out a plan, but these are all available from private companies in an open domain, completely free. You can try them out, and maybe you can experience them within your applications and email. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity and sharing this details with you. Let me also share. We have two. I shared with you these ambassadors who joined. So I'm just sharing with you that we had five, six ambassadors we approved. So Sushanta Sinha from India, Mark Elkins from South Africa, Malik Elson from Benin, Ken Sanjik Akutark from Turkey. I can't even pronounce that name properly. And Abdul Karim is from Nigeria, and Aman Masjid from India, who is from Bombay. Sushanta and Aman, welcome on board. You guys have tremendous experience, and I hope that we are all going to work together to make UA a reality, along with Harish, of course, who is an ambassador who had contacted me to get into this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ajay Data. So it's a wonderful information for all of us. Where we are explained about the role of universal acceptance, and mainly about the universal acceptance working groups. It's given a lot of an idea to all of us. Thank you so much for joining and presenting. Here, I would also have to mention about Dr. Ajay Data. So Ajay Data is one of the father of internet for the Rajasthan state. Is the first to bring private internet service to the Rajasthan state in the back of 1999. I missed this. This is wonderful stuff we have to know, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajay Data.
Thank you very much.
So the next one is our speaker is Mr. Sarmad Hussain. So let me introduce our speaker. Sarmad Hussain is one of the IDN program director. So he's with an ICANN since 2014. And as I mentioned, he's currently involved with internationalized domain names and universal acceptance initiatives at ICANN. So over to you, Mr. Sarmad Hussain.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak at this forum. I'm going to build up on what Dr. Data has just explained on universal acceptance of domain names and email addresses, and go in a bit more detail on how you as a community can participate and help in the process. So this is the same slide, which I'm using the same slide as Dr. Data's, just to sort of set the stage that we are talking about different kinds of email addresses and different kind of domain names. And this categorization is useful when we obviously start setting up our systems. Uh, Dr. Data again shared that so there are two kinds of problems. There are problems with the from an if you just look at domain names and email addresses, there are websites which may or may not accept domain names, or websites, even valid ones, considering that they are rejecting them, thinking that they're invalid just because their I guess testing approach or validation approach is not updated. and they still think that domain names are limited to maybe a set of legacy top level domains like .com or .org, or ccTLDs like .in. um, but of course, now the domain namespace has expanded to multiple languages, to longer domain names like .istanbul, and so on. So the websites, the applications online need to be obviously upgraded to make sure that they can accept these new web addresses and email addresses, URLs and email addresses. um, this is another study which we actually done, and this, instead of focusing on websites, this actually looks at the actual email deployment globally. So just to explain this a little more, and we'll focus on just the first column under all. Basically, what we did was we looked at all the different top level domains, their zone files, to see how uh, you know basically looking at the MX records under these zone files, which means that we are looking at MX records indicate their email servers. So we actually looked at zone files under .com, .org, .net, but all the other generic top level domains which are out there, and we scan their zone files to find out all the domain mail servers which have been registered under those zones. And we actually went and sampled 10,000 from um, each of those zones, and checked whether those mail servers are supporting internationalized email addresses. So, like email addresses in Hindi language, for example, or Tamil language, or any of the language, Chinese. Uh, whether they're supporting the underlying structure to receive or send emails basically in local languages. And that sampling has showed that of all the web servers which are deployed globally, only 9.7% of those servers actually support localized email addresses, which means that almost 90 out of 100 mail servers, if you are sending an email to that mail server from your Hindi email address or Tamil email address, that email will get dropped or bounced back, and it will not be delivered. And that's obviously just not an acceptable situation. And that's obviously another, I guess, aspect of the problem which we need to fix. So obviously, I guess the question is, how do we fix it? And as I said, this is dependent on the websites we are developing, the mail servers we are deploying. So this is really dependent on a problem which we actually have to solve together. It's not something which an organization sitting at one place is going to solve. All of us have to actually come together and contribute together to solve it. Um, as a first step, we obviously have to raise awareness that there is this technical problem which exists, and this is a community-based problem and something which has to be addressed by the community, so that we share this responsibility. Obviously, just knowing the problem doesn't solve it. We need to understand how to fix the problem. So we need to obviously organize technical trainings um, to solve these problems within our community. Uh, Once people know how to fix the problem, we have to obviously follow up and encourage our community members to use that uh, technical training to upgrade their systems, both from like a website point of view and also email server point of view, so that our I guess systems on the ground are UA ready. Uh, we should also start using these systems. So if you have an option, you can use email address in your local language rather than using an ASCII email address. That creates a necessary demand to convince, for example, the bigger players like the email. You know, for example, those companies which are providing emails services globally. So creating demand obviously convincing them to support these systems more effectively. And then, or you can, obviously you can also make your own. It's possible to develop your own systems. You can use open source technology, and for example, and make your own email servers which are EAI compliant. So we encourage you to upgrade your systems and then use them, and then also share your experiences of the challenges you faced, how you got the systems upgraded, and obviously the rewards coming out of those updated systems, where now more people in your community, in your local languages, can access these systems. And then obviously we should then eventually also advocate more broadly once we've obviously practiced that locally, so that we can spread this message across. And we obviously at ICANN, and through USG's leadership um, and services, we are trying to support communities to enable this or follow this process. We're supporting UA ambassadors. We're also supporting local initiatives in different regions. And as Dr. Data shared, we also have ambassadors and a local initiative in India. So we have people locally who can actually support that process if you're willing to obviously take the first step. Um, so just looking at this in a little more detail, um, how do we fix for UA readiness? Where do we start? So the starting point would be to identify the systems and applications which face your customers and or community. So if you actually have a website which is community facing, if you are running an email service which is community facing, that would be, for example, starting point. It could also be a mobile application. It could be any other applications which obviously face customers or community. We if they, in many cases there are multiple applications like these which an organization is running. So you obviously have to prioritize based on whatever criteria you decide around end users on where to start. Once you actually prioritized your applications which you want to make UA ready, you then obviously need to take a gap analysis to see within the higher priority applications, to see whether those applications are uh, actually have a UA problem. And normally those applications would have a UA problem which are directly dealing with domain names and email addresses. And email addresses, for example, in a way, are not always used as email addresses. They're also many times used as identifiers, as usernames to sign into applications. So as you see, if you go to your bank sometimes and sign up, normally now a lot of sign up applications are requesting you to use your email address as your username. So and then if you have a, let's say, a local language email address, and the bank is not allowing you to use that to sign up, saying that it is an invalid email address, obviously that's a problem which needs to be fixed. I guess you need to then shortlist the applications in which you are running, and see which of these use domain names and email addresses. Um, and then basically for those applications, you really need to do some testing to see whether they are failing or they're succeeding in accepting the different kinds of domain names and email addresses. And this what we've developed is a very detailed framework which actually advises you on how to test an application when you have you know uh, around UA readiness. So we've actually I've given a link to this document. If you go to this document, it provides you actually example acceptance tests and validation tests and process tests and so on. So as Dr. Data had shared earlier, we say that a UA ready application is an application which can accept, validate, process, store, and display all domain names and email addresses. And this particular document actually explains some of the particular tests you can use to determine whether your application is actually being able to do all that. And will point out, of course, these tests will point out where the problems are, and then those are the problems you will need to fix. um, Again, moving forward, basically, when you're testing all these tests, you need to obviously do it comprehensively. So we actually also have a document, USC 004, which gives you multiple kinds of types and kinds of email addresses and domain names in Chinese, Arabic, all the different formats which we talked about earlier briefly, and sort of gives you, in a way, testing data which you can use with these tests which we just talked about. So you can use the combination of these test cases and the processes and test your application to find where the gaps are. And then once you have once you have found the gaps, and you're ready to fix, as I said, we actually also have training materials which train you on how to technically fix these gaps. And just as an example, I'm going to share you with you sort of a journey of what ICANN did when we were ourselves going through the same process over last 3 to 4 years. So ICANN's engineering and IT team has actually also been embarking on this UA readiness journey since 2017. And what we did was we've gone through this and figured out that there are obviously many different ways of doing it, but the way we did it, we figured out then that's something which may work for many other people as well. And our work was divided into 3 steps or 3 stages. um, the easier ones first, and then we tackled the more difficult problems. The easiest problem we found out was that we remain in the ASCII space, and we just focus not on local languages, but just the short top level domains like .sky, or long top level domains like .istanbul or .paris in ASCII. And first try to fix our systems to just accept those. As a second stage, we also accept internationalized domain names in 2 forms: the Unicode form and the ASCII form. The 2 forms are IDN, a local IDN or domain name in local language can be represented. So we fix the basically domain name problem for IDNs as a second stage. And then as at the third stage, we start working with the email addresses, because that's probably more complex than just accepting the domain names. So that, and details of how we actually went through this are available in the ICANN's case study, which is available online. Where are we with all this? Basically, we started this work in 2017. We have many systems, tens of systems in internally working for different reasons. We have registrar support systems. We have many other systems which actually are public facing. What The first thing we did was obviously analysis of which are the relevant systems. We found 60% of the off-the-shelf systems are public facing, and 40% of the custom systems are public facing, and those were the ones which we were. 40% of the 40% were custom systems, and those 100% systems were really the ones we had shortlisted for though the ones we would need to fix. Um, we've actually gone through after the inventory, starting fixing them. We've completed stage 1 in 2018, and stage 2 we're almost done. We should be finishing that this year. And we've already started working on stage 3, and currently working with our email providers. Actually, email system is now uh, based on Microsoft Outlook and Exchange, and that is already UA compliant. But we are now working with our spam filter providers to make the whole system UA ready. So lessons learned, we found out that it's important, if you're making yourself you ready, that you actually have a clear roadmap on which systems you want to prioritize for making you ready, and then how would you go about which systems you'll pick first, and which will which system you'll pick later. So you actually have to have a reasonably clear roadmap. Um, it's I think it's good to start with just short and long TLD and fix the ASCII problem first, because that gives you a quick win, but also gives you some experience on how to solve the problem, and then you can go into the more complex cases. Um, we tried different mechanisms. One of the ways was to just um, upgrade for UA based on maintenance cycles, but we found out that it is more efficient to just treat UA as a separate project and just take that, review your audit your systems and then upgrade them, rather than trying to wait for their maintenance cycles to do that. Um, ICANN has, we've also been, for off the shelf products, we've actually also been working with our vendors to, convince them to include UA readiness in their roadmaps, so that when they give those systems to us, they are also UA compliant. Um, and what we found was that some vendors were really not aware of UA. So we actually had to go and actually make them aware of UA problems, and in some cases, share them technical details on how to fix that. Um, and then even when they're aware, they may not be aware of all the details. So that's something you may want to obviously check with your vendors if you're getting off the shelf systems. And finally, it's an ongoing process. It should really be, UA readiness is something you do as a habit, not as a separate exercise. Eventually, I think when you if you're developing technology or acquiring technology, the development acquisition process itself should have UA readiness integrated into the whole process, rather than trying to separate that from and doing it, I guess, as a patch. That obviously would be needed for existing system, but new systems, you may want to just build that into the acquisition or development process. With that, I think that's all I wanted to share. We would love to get many of you to try making your own systems UA ready. We would also, beyond making your own systems UA ready, if you can volunteer, we would love to get you on the USG platform to not only contribute locally, but at a global level. As Dr. Data shared, it's an open forum. These are all open forums. Please join our working groups and contribute. Feel free to reach out to us on any of these email addresses if you have any questions. And I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sarmad Hussain. So we got a lot of information here. So how the community can contribute here, and also how to fix the UI readiness, and a lot of information with respect to the domain name and the email perspectives. So, and also the major thing is the test framework, how the UI readiness doing stuff, how to utilize the test framework. The information is very good. And thank you so much for the presentation. And some of the attendees have our members are asking the questions. So just for information, we are taking up questions at the last of the session. So it's time for to go with our next speaker. So our next speaker is Mr. Samiran Gupta. So Samiran Gupta is going to give and deliver about an importance of UA for Indian startups companies in a $10 billion business opportunity. So meanwhile, I will give a little bit introduction about Samiran Gupta. Samiran is the head of India for ICANN, and is a business strategy and public affairs management. So prior to joining ICANN, Samiran was the senior director with the APC worldwide, responsible for counseling clients in business and public affairs. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Adarsh. And you've left me with the most provocative part of the presentation, the $10 billion opportunity. So I'm very happy to talk about that. I do not have a presentation, so I hope you can hear me clearly. Am
Yes,
I
you're
audible?
audible. Yes,
Okay,
you're audible.
wonderful. So I'm just going to speak about what this $10 billion opportunity is. And again, before I get started, let me, let me thank the ISOC Rural Development SIG for organizing this important, conversation, and also the fact that we have participants not only joining from India but from different parts of the world. So, and this $10 billion opportunity that I'm supposed to be talking to you about is not exclusively only for software developers in India, but it's also for any businesses globally which want to benefit from this. Before I get to the kind of more details about this $10 billion opportunity, let me pick up on a couple of things that Dr. Data and Dr. Sarmad Hussain have already spoken about. So Ajay gave a very expansive overview of what UA is and what UASG is doing, and Sarmad nicely kind of encapsulated the process of getting UA readiness and what are the challenges. Now, one of the challenges he actually spoke about is even that vendors or partners not being aware what UA is, and that uh, you know that in a sense is one of the key issues. Uh, that in itself is one of the key issues, in that a lot of people, whether they are software developers, whether they run websites, or whether they have businesses online, they assume that the internet is only available in ASCII. And therefore, that in itself is one of the stumbling blocks. And, I've been involved in a few of these workshops that we've done in India, where we've spoken with sort of developers in the country, and Harish has been with me on a couple of those occasions, and actually led those workshops. And some of the learnings we found were quite interesting. For example, in one case, we found that a railway booking system, while it accepted names and addresses to be input in a different script, let's say Hindi or Devanagari script and Hindi language, but the email address box was left only for ASCII. Equally, I had a conversation with a gentleman who runs a small ERP company out of Kerala, and that ERP company works with clients in the Gulf. And when we spoke about UA readiness, and I just gave him a suggestion that, look, if you allowed Arabic to be used on your on your email server, then you would probably you may find it easier to communicate with your clients who do use Arabic in their day-to-day work. So on and so forth. There were all these kinds of examples that we have seen in India. Now, getting to the point of this $10 billion opportunity. So this is really based on some excellent research that was done in the year 2017 that UASG had sponsored. And this research actually looked at, the development of the new GTLDs as well as IDNs, and how new GTLDs such as long strings or long domain names, and let's say how IDNs such as some of those examples which both Sarmad and Ajay have shown, how technologies and how these you know in sort of ways of accessing the internet were being uh, were looked at by this in this research, and to see what was the part of the business that they were not getting, and therefore how they can bring that bring that value to their business. Uh, Now, this research was done by Analysis Mason, and you can actually download this document from the usg.tech website. And the major part of that $10 billion opportunity came from IDNs, or internationalized domain names. And this, some of, and when you read the research, you will see that they've given the assumptions on how they've come to the calculation of these numbers. But the real issue is that when it came to IDNs, they were expecting even if 5% of the local language users, such as let's say the group of Indian languages, not only one but several Indian scripts, or let's say if you looked at the 550 million Chinese internet users, or the 131 million Arabic-speaking internet users, even if you took a small percentage of them, and they started using, or these communities started using the internet in the local languages, it would generate revenue potentials of something like $6.2 billion. And this research was based on figures from 2016, and it's not a one-time number. It's a number that will continue to grow and evolve year on year. So I would, urge all of you to actually go online, go to the USG website, and take a look at that research. Now, I'd also like to kind of speak about some of the challenges that I mentioned briefly earlier. One of them was, again, the lack of information, lack of knowledge. As an example, let me also share, while speaking at an event in India, one of the largest online, retailers, their tech person said to me that, look, we are aware that we can use different Indian scripts on our selling website. However, we really don't know which conventions to follow. So, and I don't see this as their fault, but the point is that a lot of work has actually happened in standardizing the usage of local scripts online. We've had, in fact, across the Indian subcontinent, several scripts have actually been now put on the root zone of the internet, and all of that is available. And that work was actually done by community members from the region. So my point very simply is that if any one of you who's listening, who is a software developer, is working on applications, do put in an effort to understand how you can be UA compliant. Because if you're working on something which is yet to come to the market, your remediation efforts will be relatively easier compared to somebody who's already in the market. And then, it goes back to the example that Sarmad gave about how ICANN was looking at making themselves or ourselves universal acceptance. so doing all the remediation. And sometimes it takes a lot of effort to work with vendors to get them to execute some of those protocols. So therefore, the where I would like to end is that there are to sum up, there are some assumptions that the internet is not available in any other script but in ASCII. Obviously, that is incorrect today, and the fact that there's a lot of help and support available from UASG if you want to grow your business and your websites to be sort of UA compliant. Please feel free to be in touch with several of the speakers, apart from myself, on this group, as well as the UA ambassadors that we've heard about. Collectively, our job is to support the community, cross these hurdles and make the internet more accessible to all. Now, with that, I'm going to stop here. I know we are a little short on time, so I'll stop here. And if there are any questions, I'll be very happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the giving an idea of where the companies industries has to look up for an opportunity to take up and to come up on the business perspective. Thank you so much for the talk.
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So thanks, Adarsh, for providing this opportunity. And I also thank ISOC as well as the FICCI ILA group and all the esteemed speakers. Now I'll try to talk about regarding the workshop uh, and the workshop we have conducted in 6 cities of India under the project funded by MITI and implemented by IAMI. Adarsh,
Yes,
can you please start the slides?
yes, I will share the screen.
Thank you, Adarsh. Uh, I think there is some, okay, thanks. So I would be covering the universal acceptance workshops and the web portal we are developing, which will show how to implement your websites, which are compliant to UA, and summary of the outreach activities and the recent launch of the sunrise period of internationalized domain names. Next. So we have organized 6 workshops in these cities: Raipur, Bhopal, Jaipur, Lucknow, Pune, and Patna. And the participants are from various stakeholder groups, including startups, internet governance schools, software engineers, academia, government institutions. And the main agenda of the workshop was to provide tutorial and the UA coding challenge, and so that the participants could create a website or a web application or any web services which could specifically accept, validate, store, process, and display, which are the main key important factors of universal acceptance of all domain names and email IDs. And it was basically for the Devanagari scripts, and majorly the developers implemented in Hindi language. Next slide, please. So the most important part was that this is the project is funded and supported by Ministry of Electronics and IT, and the implemented by one of the industry organization, IAMAI. And we under this project we are creating a web portal which is in progress, and which has very interesting some of the interesting features. For example, how to test if a TLS certificate is UA compliant. We have also implemented that if the URL should be in Hindi, and even the directory structure of the website should be in Hindi URLs. So when this website would be launched soon, and when it is launched, I will circulate the information. Next. So this is summary of outreach. So we have covered 6 states and 6 cities of India. There were the involvement of academia through the JECRC University Jaipur and BITS Mesra Patna. There were more than 150 students who actively participated. There were startups and incubation hubs, specifically BNest in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, one of the state government institution. Another one is the 36 Inc., which is in Chhattisgarh. It is again a government funded startup incubation hub. There were more than 350 participants participated actively during the UA hackathons. There were also government institutions like in Lucknow we have the NILIT Center, and then we have CDEC Pune, where in which we have conducted UA hackathon, so that developers and the startups and other stakeholders could understand how to implement UA, how to make their system UA ready. Next, please. So these are some of the pictures from the workshops where all the participants are taking taking guidance how to implement and how to code for UA. Next. This is our coding challenge, where in which the participants are coding for UA. Next, please. So it is not just that we were coding. We are also proliferating the information using all the channels, and these are the you can see we have put the word in the leading newspapers, and they have covered it, and they have beautifully described what we have done and why universal acceptance and multilingual internet is required. Next. And we have also created some GitHub repositories. All the coders have created repositories. You can go to the GitHub and check for UA repositories. You will find it, and it will give you a guidance or some code from which you can start. Next. So this is the plan for 2020. This plan may be not aligned because of this pandemic situation. Otherwise, we have 5 more workshops to organize, out of which today we are organizing with this ISOC Rural Development SIG, and maybe further we will organize a series with local UA initiative along with FICCI ILA Group. NIT Bhopal and Quartz Technology are already invited us to do the universal acceptance training. Next please. So one of the most important information that recently National Internet Exchange of India, this is publicly available information, have launched the sunrise period for Kannada, Odia, Assamese, Sanskrit, Santhali, uh, and Sindhi and Malayalam. The sunrise period have started on 16th of March, and the general availability for the domain in these languages will be available from 15th of the July. And this is very important because it is in line with our honorable Prime Minister's, uh, main clarion call on vocal for local, so that people could adopt the local language, and which plays a critical role in making the internet more inclusive by widening the knowledge base across communities in the preferred regional languages. Next. And what are the advantages of this? Again, I am repeating, the large target audience that prefers consuming content in their native languages, maintaining the essence of the messaging while promoting your brand by having a cultural connect to make an impact, and establishing trust and giving clarity to the consumer by clearly communicating the benefits of your product and services in their own choice of languages. So after this sunrise period, or after this launch, INDNs are available in all 22 official Indian languages. You can have your email ID and as well as domain name in your choice of language. Next, please. So finally, this is from my side. In the interest of time, I have just uh, done it. I hope within time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Harish, for the nice presentation and to bring explain all the activities that are going on in India. And it is wonderful to know about those who are interested to learn much about universal acceptance or interested to host an workshop similar kind of workshop. You can reach out to an Harish or any of the our major speakers. Yeah. So it's time for an Q&A, but we are almost out of time. So we can take up a last just 2 minutes more. Kindly let me know if anyone have any questions here. You can ask. Even if you don't have any questions at present, even later on also you can ask. You can just drop an email to us as well, or as to an universal acceptance steering group. You can directly communicate with them as well. So this is the time to thank you all. So first of all, I would like to thank you, all the speakers who have joined and given a wonderful idea, bring and awareness about an universal acceptance steering group. I would like to thanks for the Dr. Ajay Data, who gave an wonderful idea about an universal acceptance introduction, the way how it is working and all. And also, I would like to thank Mr. Sarmad Hussain, so who give an information about the domain names and the email address perspective. And I would like to thank our third speaker, Mr. Samiran Gupta, so where he given idea to the business perspective for opportunity where lack of opportunities available to take up those. We have to work on it. And I would like to thank our Mr. Harish Chowdhary for as well for hosting, and he take the responsibility to host this webinar and to bring the awareness in the including in this Internet Society Rural Development Special Interest Group. And here I would like to thank each and everyone, those who have joined in our live stream and Facebook channel live stream as well. And if you have any queries, please feel free to drop an email to us. And uh, also we have to thank for our webinar partners. Our webinar partners are Karnataka Law Society, Gupta Institute, and also Federation of Indian Chambers and for Commerce and Industry, Council of Information Security, and Ramaya Institute of Technology from Bangalore, and also IEEE Bangalore section. These are our webinar partners. They are continuously supporting us to host and webinars and also other activities always. Thank you for all the partners. And also I would like to thank our live stream supporting person, Mr. Jolly. Jolly, thanks for you all the time that you will keep on supporting us during our webinar activities. Or once this COVID-19 situation started, our webinar activities have increased. Thank you, Mr. Jolly, for your continuous support. So I would like to thank you one and all. Nice meeting with you all. Have a great day. Thank you.